Oh hey, welcome to Hey How's That Work with Luca. I'm Luca. If you're wondering, hey Luca, why are you wearing those stupid goggles? Well, it's my show. Today, we're going to be talking about the chronograph. It's like a little tiny thunderdome that lives on your wrist. There's hammers, there's wig-wags, there's a lot of violence in there. It's a bloodbath. Let's explore it together. So, the chronograph. How does that work? With Luca. That's me. Your chronograph is it's essentially a stopwatch that is attached to your watch. It's a pretty simple concept. But in practice, your chronograph is an absolute monster of a complication. It is very complex. There's a lot of moving parts. There's a lot of friction. There's a lot of force being applied during the operation of your chronograph. And you have to keep in mind, it's drawing from the same power reserve as your watch. It has to work in addition to the functions already happening without messing everything up. And when you get down to the actual function and interaction of these parts, it becomes one of the most fascinating things you'll find in modern watches. Even though it's a pretty ubiquitous complication, it's pretty fascinating. You're about to find out in a second. Ah, lucky you. So, your chronographs will come in two different flavors. You'll have your cam-driven chronographs and your column wheel-driven chronographs, and that is referring specifically to a mechanism within the chronograph that kind of drives all your functions. It's kind of the heart around which the mechanism will operate. The cam is going to be consists of an upper and a lower cam, and then you'll have a column wheel, which is actually a gear with ratcheting teeth around it with actual columns sticking up out of it. There's not a huge difference in the function of the two. A cam-driven chronograph versus a column wheel-driven chronograph will be very, very, very similar systems, if not identical. They're not identical because, we're changing out parts, but they're pretty close. The main reason why a brand would choose to use, say, a column wheel over a cam is, from what I can gather, is because the column wheel kind of looks nice. It's a bit prettier. Other than that, not a huge difference. So, first we're going to take a look at the start-stop mechanism and the parts that actually make that happen. When you push the start-stop pushers, this guy right here, it's going to activate your main operating lever. It's this big old weird shaped pushy boy. So you will push that. This will then move your intermediate operating lever. It's kind of hidden underneath here. And that will push your lower cam clockwise. So when you do that, what's called the cam jumper spring, you'll see this right up here. That little beak will fall into an indentation on the lower cam. And also the rocking lever spring, so this guy right here, will actually keep tension on the rocking lever, which will return the intermediate operating lever to the place where it started, so it's ready to stop it again. So I'm actually going to activate that. You can see when I push it, it moves this lever right here. That lever pushes on the intermediate operating lever, which then slides into that indentation on your lower cam. Lower cam turns clockwise, which then causes your cam jumper spring to lock into place. And when you see I release this, you'll actually see the rocking lever spring will cause the rocking lever to return to where it started. So, when we stop it, it's actually going to reverse a lot of what just happened. So I'll push the stop, you'll see the main operating lever will push the intermediate operating lever, which will then push the lower cam counterclockwise, right there. And then you'll actually see below it, there is this bit that it kind of looks like the leg off of the respectable trucker mud flap lady. You know what I'm talking about? Anyways, this is called your brake lever. Your brake lever will swing into place, and you'll actually see this face right here matches that of the center chronograph wheel. So this will actually stop the chronograph wheel so you can take a reading, so you can read where the chronograph has stopped. What also happens, you'll actually see this guy right here with these two wheels attached to it. This is your intermediate chronograph lever. This is your chronograph driving wheel. And this is going to be your intermediate chrono wheel. So when I hit the start, you'll actually see this whole arm will move and mesh with the center chronograph wheel, which will start it. This is actually your horizontal clutch. So that slides into place. You'll see these wheels are now engaged. They've meshed together. You can actually see them moving slowly. So your chronograph is running. So when I stop it, you'll actually see this whole arm will move back out of the way and disengage. So it's stopped. So that just moves on one plane, so it just moves across and it engages. It's a very flexible system, it's very simple, it works well, but when you engage a horizontal chronograph, when the teeth of the intermediate chronograph wheel mesh with the teeth of the center chronograph wheel, the teeth can actually kind of hit at a weird angle. Like if, say, the teeth hit point to point, that can actually cause a problem. And what will happen is, if those teeth don't mesh up exactly perfectly, you'll get a jump when your chronograph starts. And you'll see that it's nothing bad, it's just kind of the nature of the system. So some brands don't like that jump, so they've actually introduced a vertical clutch. A vertical clutch does eliminate that jump, so it is a much smoother engagement. However, it is a much more complicated system. It's going to be more expensive to manufacture, so you're typically not going to see them anywhere outside of your higher end chronographs. All right, and now we're going to look at the return to zero function, which is my favorite bit. This is the Thunderdome. This is where the violence happens. So what happens when you push your return to zero pusher? That's this guy right here. This is your locking pin. Your locking pin will move out of the way and it will disengage with the hammer. This is your hammer right here. And it is called the hammer because this face and this face are literally going to swing and bash into the cams mounted on these wheels. If you actually look real closely, you can see a bit of metal sticking out underneath there. It's actually what's called a heart cam. So there is a heart cam mounted on each of these wheels. This heart cam will correspond to your seconds, and this will correspond to your minute counter. So if you actually look at the hammer, you'll see the shape of these faces right here. These shapes will actually correspond with the shape of the cams. So when this hammer swings down and bashes into those cams, the cams will be forced into an orientation that corresponds with zero. So it'll actually force it back to zero. So let's see that interaction right now. So I'm going to give this a click and you'll see this swing down. And if you look closely, you'll see this cam actually spin back around and it should face right around here. So that's it. Your hammer dropped into place, push these cams back to start, and it is entirely disengaged and returned to zero. And you'll also notice that when you drop this hammer, your braking lever, this trucker mud flap leg, pulled off, and it's going to return your cam back to where it started. So this guy it's ready to go. It's ready to start again. Wow, well, did you look at that? So that's how your chronograph works. It is a baby stopwatch that lives inside your regular watch, and when you hit a button, it hits things with hammers, and that's fun. And there's wigwags. So that's the video. If you find yourself living your day-to-day life and you see a thing and you don't know how it works and you would like to know, hey, how's that work with Luca? That's me, I'm Luca. Leave it in the comments and we'll figure out how it works together. I mean, I'll figure out how it works and then we'll make a video about it, but then you'll watch it and then we'll both know how it works together. But like a watch-related thing too, not like a toaster or like a light bright or something. I don't know how those work. Thanks, friend. Goodbye. So that's it. That's how your chronograph works. If you want to see more like this past video that you just watched now, hit the like button, subscribe, hit the bell icon so you get notifications when we post new videos. Goodbye now.